How can you not love this Nationals offseason so far? The Washington Nationals hired Paul Toboni to be the president of baseball ops, and now they make another splash in the front office.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And yes, I'm your Nationals insider here, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, when it's your team every single day. And my name is Ryan Clary, host of the Locked On Nationals podcast here. And later on in today's show, we have got a little bit of a memory for Nationals fans out there. On this day, 6 years ago, October 15th, what happened? I'll share that. You look around the front office, there's a lot of new figures, there's a lot of sexy big-time names. What do the Nationals have to do to make this work? I'll describe what has to happen later on in the program today, but I'm going to tell you why and really what happened, because the Washington Nationals made another splash in the front office, and man, do I love this offseason already. But today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. And download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So the Nationals made another big-time hire in the front office working under Paul Toboni, and that is assistant GM Devin Pearson. Devin Pearson comes over from the Boston Red Sox, who worked alongside Toboni there in their player development side and handled a ton of other different responsibilities. But we saw this news break last night. It was, I believe it was Joe Doyle who broke the news. I'm actually pulling that up right now for you to make sure that they get the first credit. It was actually Alex Spear with the Boston Globe. And just the first reaction to this was, yes, we have talked about this all off season long so far. It's only been a few weeks here, but still, the Nationals need to go out and gut teams' front office. Right now, you could probably say that the Nationals from the past couple of seasons here, they may have had some like the least talented front offices here. You see different guys like Danny Haas, who left the organization a few weeks ago. We've talked about other guys coming from the Boston Red Sox or the Baltimore Orioles. Like all those guys, they made some impact here. But right now, the Nationals simply had no talent in the front office. And fortunately enough, I think we have that now. Hiring a new up-and-comer guy like a Devin Pearson, who has been with the Red Sox basically his whole career here. He started as a pro scouting intern for them back in 2017. He served as the assistant scouting director alongside Paul Toboni, who oversaw all those operations in Boston. And he is now the director of amateur scouting with the Red Sox, and he has been hired to handle the assistant GM job for the Washington Nationals. Yes, this is what good teams do. You go to other organizations, you pluck some of their top GMs or top decision makers or scouts or area scouts, whatever it could be. This is the recipe for success. Looking at what Paul Toboni has done so far, how can you not feel excited about the future for this team? How can you not feel some just kind of simmer of hope at this point? This is a feeling that Nationals fans quite literally have not had probably since 2019. And you have had some success here. I think Mike DeBartolo is the interim GM. I loved what he did inside this MLB draft class. I love what he did at the trade deadline. I thought he was a really good decision maker. But there is a vision in my mind with Paul Toboni. I do believe in what he is selling us at this point. And I think a lot of Nationals fans out there, you should probably feel the same way. This is someone who does not come from an organization that is used to losing. The Boston Red Sox might be the best organization, probably the best run organization over the last couple of decades, right behind the LA Dodgers. When you think of winning, I think of the Red Sox. When you think of player development, I think of the Dodgers, and I also think of the Red Sox nowadays. We are getting some of the top guys from the Boston Red Sox organization now. Two guys that a lot of people have been saying, this is a big loss. And just to kind of go into this, if you watch Boston Red Sox beat reporters right now, some of the tweets that you're saying, and these are obviously some paraphrasing in here, but Pearson and Toboni have been massive parts to their drafting success, and that is what the beat reporters are saying. Sometimes within the baseball front office, roles are different. Like in the NFL, everything is drama. Everything is kind of plastered on NFL Network. You hear about everyone. You know the assistant GMs. You know the different parts of what each and every guy does in that front office. But if you look inside a baseball front office, it's just different. Some guys who don't have these big, massive titles, they might have huge roles within that front office, whether it be overseeing analytics, whether it be overseeing evaluating those top prospects and getting background checks on them and getting a feel for their personality. Because speaking of personality, Toboni has made it very clear. He wants good traits inside this ball club. And he will go to deep depths to figure out who is the best fit for the Washington Nationals. That is what this organization needs right now. You cannot leave any stone unturned at this point in time. And that's what I feel like. So hiring Devin Pearson, this is a big deal in my opinion. And also, I will say this. It's kind of noteworthy that they did not hire him as a general manager here in town. There's an opening with the Boston Red Sox. I was thinking maybe Devin Pearson would get that role with them. So I don't know what's going on with the Boston Red Sox at this point, but I also don't know what's going on with the Nationals GM job at this point. Because I thought maybe Devin Pearson, I mean, we talked about him a couple of weeks ago as someone who could be the GM here with the Washington Nationals. And you don't have him as your top decision maker, but you have him as the assistant GM. That sounds like a win to me. Paul Toboni, coming from the University of California, playing there in 2011 and 2012. Funny enough, Devin Pearson also came from the University of California and also played with them in 2013. They did not cross paths on that team there, but still, obviously, they're very familiar with each other. Toboni has worked with them for years at this point. Pearson has been with Toboni for years at this point. They are very familiar with each other. But this is what Devin Pearson has been credited for over the past few seasons. He has ran the last 3 drafts for the Boston Red Sox that netted them Kyle Teal, who was ultimately traded to the Chicago White Sox, but still one of the better catching prospects in all of baseball. Christian Campbell, one of the brightest young stars in today's game, a top 10 prospect entering 2025, the minor league player of the year, the MVP of the minor leagues this past season. And also Connolly Early, someone who started game 3 of the wild card game for them this season, who looked really good in that start, in my opinion. Going into the Bronx, in that environment, winner take all, winner go home situation, yeah, they didn't get the win, but for a rookie to make that within his first 12 starts of a season, that is incredible to go out there and pitch the way that he did. And also Peyton Toll. This Nationals team and this Nationals organization is going to look a lot different. And honestly, it has to. Under Toboni and now under Devin Pearson, I do kind of have questions if they are going to hire a GM, because if they were going to make a GM hire, it would feel as if that it would be along the lines of a Devin Pearson. And also, it might feel like it could be a Mike DeBartolo still at this point. The Nationals do not really have a title for DeBartolo, at least from what I have seen. I feel as if right now it's still the interim GM, I guess. So maybe he is the GM at this point and he is doing the day-to-day operations for this team, but we just don't know that at this point in time. All I can say is this. The Nationals hiring Devin Pearson as the assistant GM He will likely oversee player development. He'll probably oversee amateur scouting, and he'll probably overlook the draft. He's going to have a big hand in the day-to-day operations and a big hand in this MLB draft. And the Nationals, they're going to be picking close to the top of the board each of the next few seasons here. So that is something that you will not want to look past, and watch out for some new draft strategies as the Nationals kind of get acclimated to this new front office and see what they can do. But if this front office is going to work, things will have to happen, and things will have to change. Let's talk about that after this. There is nothing like catching a baseball game live. The energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person, but actually getting tickets, that's the tough part. Queues, login screens, surprise fees. It takes all the fun out of it. And that is why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. The app made it super simple, and I could even see the exact view from my seat before buying, and fees are always included. Know your total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. And I love the zone deals too, because you can pick the section and Game Time picks the seats and you save pig. So download the Game Time app today and create an account and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. And we are back at it here on Locked On Nationals. If you have not done so already, check us out over on YouTube. Just look up Locked On Nationals. It feels as if that the Nationals are obviously just gutting their baseball operations department. I mean, last week, people were talking about that it was a bloodbath over at Nationals Park. And of course, there are some real people in there, some really good executives within the Nationals who were let go. But this is the Paul Toboni era. This is the new era here with the Nationals. But what has to happen to make this work? Number one, ownership. You have to have a buy-in from this ownership group. And I feel as if, again, we have talked about this time and time again, but it is now more important than ever. Buy-in from the ownership does not just look like cutting a check. It does not just give them the opportunity to do things. You have to have 2 feet in that building each and every single day in more ways than one. You have to have a buy-in and believe in what Toboni is selling you. I believe this. I don't think the Nationals would have made this splash of a move under Toboni if there was no buy-in from the ownership. I do come from the fact that I believe that the Nationals and their ownership probably kind of got a little dry with the message coming from Mike Rizzo. And some of the things coming out of it, like we've talked about the trajectory machine. The Nationals were one of 5 teams that did not have that device at their ballpark. That is a huge issue in my mind. We still don't really know if it was ownership unwilling to spend it because it is very expensive. I believe it's something along the lines of like $500,000, maybe less, maybe a little bit more, but it's in that ballpark there. The Nationals were one of 5 teams that did not have that. Does that come from ownership unwilling to spend? Does that come from Mike Rizzo not really seeing the use of it? I still do not know, and I don't think we will ever know at this point. But there was a lot of speculation, whether it was on ownership, whether it was on Rizzo. It does sound as if, according to Mike Rizzo, right before he was fired eventually from the Nationals, that it does sound like they were exploring that, and it did sound as if that they will be getting that at Nationals Park. We don't know kind of what the future of that is. Toboni hasn't answered that at this point, but he hasn't really been asked about it at this point. But buying in from ownership is going to be a crucial part to make this work. Toboni doesn't just have this magic wand. Like the owners over at the Boston Red Sox, while fans love to crush them, they still spend pretty big. And they gave them every everything to make that front office develop, and they gave them every resource possible out there, and they made sure that that front office was covered from head to toe with every single thing that you would need. Can this ownership group do that? If you sit here today and say, I'm not sure about that, that's probably fair, because honestly, I'm kind of along those lines as well. This is a big, massive offseason for the Nationals. But the first thing that is going to happen with ownership and Toboni is they will have to get on the same page of what is important for this franchise and what is not. And a trajectory machine, that is at the top of it. You've got to have every resource possible to make this team succeed. And if the Nationals can succeed in that department, and if ownership does go all in, then this will work here with the Nationals. But again, that is going to take a lot of buy-in in more ways than one. Believing in Toboni's message, buy-in literally from this ownership group, and investing money and allocating different resources to different departments. That is the top of that list, in my opinion. And number two, patience. Patience from ownership, patience within the Nationals players, and patience within the fan base. The Nationals fan base right now, I think we've all kind of said this. This season, I don't think I've ever seen this fan base as broken as it was. But also, I don't think I've ever seen this Nationals organization as broken as it was. You saw so much smoke coming out of this organization, whether it be the learners having one foot out of the door, whether it be Mike Grizzo not really spending all that much time here. Like, there was a lot of dirty laundry that had to be cleaned for us to get here to the point where we're at today. And to have that patience under Toboni is going to be very crucial. Let's start with the players, because obviously that's where everything starts, with the players. Paul Toboni can walk into that clubhouse and look at CJ Abrams and say, hey, if you change your bat speed, if you add some velo on your bat swing, or maybe you tweak your swing this way, that's how you're going to be a lot better. CJ may look at him and be like, thanks, man. Nice to meet you. I'm CJ, by the way. There has to be a bought-in and a patience from these players, and also from the front office, but also from everything right now. Things are not going to change overnight. Like, here, let's just get this out of the way now. If you expect the Nationals to be a good team in 2026, stop it. This is going to take a long time. It is going to take a few years to really get this thing up and running, especially the way to Toboni's standards at this point. He comes from an organization that uses analytics. He comes from an organization that spends wisely, a much larger market with the Boston area there. You have to be patient in what is going to come. I don't want to see people on April 14th this year, when the Nationals are, let's say, 2-10. I don't want to see people saying, this sucks, we're not going to be good. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in a single season. There are going to be bumpy roads, and I hate that I'm saying this, but I have to say it. Bumpy roads lead to beautiful places. I'm sorry. I said that. But that's where the Nationals are at this point. You have to have patience. The Lerner family, they have to have patience. The players, they have to have patience. Nothing is going to change like that. It's going to take some time. Toboni has to figure out which department needs what. He needs to figure out where these resources can go. And this is something that he actually touched on in his introductory press conference a few weeks ago. But he has not really been able to figure out what's going to happen and what's not. Like, these are all things that are going to take time. He's going to have to look over and make different decisions on where money should be going. And if I were him, the first thing that I would probably address is getting the right and the correct analytics in place, and getting the right technology in place, and make sure that these major leaguers and some of your top prospects are doing the work this offseason that he would be doing up in Boston. Ownership is a crucial part in this game plan. If you do not have buy-in from the ownership and patience from the ownership and patience from everywhere else in the organization, this will not work. So things are going to change. It's not going to happen overnight, but you will see a difference this season at some point, whether it be in the minor leagues, whether it be with their draft strategy, or maybe it comes in different areas that you will be able to see. But right now, I'm loving what the Nationals are doing in this front office. What says you? Let me know. Tweet at me at RyanClary11. You can drop a comment in our YouTube section. Just look up Locked On Nationals there. But next, on this day 6 years ago, the Washington Nationals did. I'll tell you after this. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. And right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays, I've tried player props, and I've even followed the live lines during games. And it makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. I had a same game parlay the other day. I actually had the Commanders at plus money when they were losing early on in the game. And I also had Zach Ertz anytime touchdown score. And of course, I cashed that bet, but the Commanders lost. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Again, that is FanDuel.com, and download America's #1 sportsbook. That is FanDuel.com. And thank you for making Locked On Nationals your first listen. On this day, 6 years ago, the Washington Nationals punched their ticket to the World Series. How do you get back to that just glorious situation? You remember where you were. The Nationals in 2019 were World Series champions. On this day, they punched their ticket to the big dance. What an incredible sequence that 2019 season was. And honestly, just before we kind of jump into what has to happen here, this Mariners team right now is really reminding me of the 2019 Nationals. I think I've seen a couple people say that at this point, and it's kind of funny that you see Victor Robles on that team, who is a crucial part in that deal. But how can the Nationals get back to that point? Funny enough, I look back at Victor Robles in 2019. We remember Victor Robles from 2020 through 2024 with the Nationals. It was a disaster. After having a promising rookie season, let me say that again, a promising rookie season in 2019, where he was a legit, very good center fielder there, roaming the outfield with incredible range, a cannon for an arm, getting on base at a pretty solid rate, having extra base hits, nearly 20 home runs in a single season. Victor Robles is kind of viewed as a bust. But if you think back to that 2019 season, the discourse surrounding him was completely different. Who knows what had happened to him? But we can clearly see that something went wrong within his development. In 2019, he was viewed again as a bust, but he really wasn't. Like, I don't really understand that discourse surrounding him. Like, he was a top 5 prospect in baseball, so he had top 5 expectations. But that 2019 season was incredible. Getting ownership and getting the Nationals front office to start developing players again, that is how the Nationals will get back to this. And with Devin Pearson coming as the assistant GM, Mike DeBartolo now still in-house here, and Paul Toboni, all of those guys have backgrounds in player development. This is going to be the ticket to the Nationals getting back to where they need to be. I have always said over the years, has ownership been a big problem as far as not investing in this team? And is it a problem right now that the Brewers have a higher payroll than the Nationals? It certainly is an issue. But also, almost as big of an issue is the lack of player development. If you think back to that team, you think of Anthony Rendon, born, bred in-house. Juan Soto, developed by the Nationals. Trey Turner, while he was drafted by the Padres, I still give the Nationals a credit for developing him. Steven Strasburg, developed. Victor Robles, developed. Adam Eaton, a savvy trade made with the White Sox a few years before that. Ryan Zimmerman, drafted and developed here. Kurt Suzuki, savvy free agency sign. Yan Gomes, same goes for him. The Nationals have to get back to that player development. Right now, you look across the diamond, Mackenzie Gore, not really developed by the Nationals. He's looked good at times. He was an all-star this year. And of course, I give the Nationals credit for that, but he was not really developed by this team. Brady House, developed by this team, looked okay at times this year, but still a lot of room to grow. Dylan Cruz, same goes for him. The Nationals have to get back to their roots of developing talent. That is what gets you in these situations. So for people out there who always say ownership has to invest in this team, you are right. But also, there's a completely other side to this story that the Nationals have not done well, and that is develop talent. Getting it through the draft, getting it through the DSL. The Nationals have to get back to their ways of doing that from back in the 2010s. And that was obviously their most successful run, where they won the second most games in all of baseball from 2010 all the way through 2019. This was a juggernaut in DC during that era. We got to get back to those roots, and it starts with developing talent back here in DC. So thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And I will catch you guys on the flip side. On tomorrow's program, we will look even deeper into this Nationals front office overhaul. But until then, have a good one. Go Nats.